Minister May. Without further ado, I give the floor to the President.
Prime Minister, ladies and gentlemen, this morning Prime Minister May and I had a meeting to take stock of progress since we met on Monday. I will not hide that in between Monday and this morning we had a lot of talks. The Prime Minister, myself, the Taoiseach and myself, the Taoiseach and the Prime Minister, and that's the reason why I would like to thank the Prime Minister for her determination. I would also like to thank Michel Barnier and David Davis, as well as their teams, for the extremely hard and skillful work over the last weeks and months. We discussed the joint report agreed by the two negotiators. Prime Minister May has assured me that it has the backing of the UK government. On that basis, I believe we have now made the breakthrough we needed. Today's result is, of course, a compromise. It is the result of a long and intense discussion between the Commission negotiators and those of the UK. As in any negotiation, both sides had to listen to each other, adjust their position, and show a willingness to compromise. This was a difficult negotiation for the European Union as well as for the United Kingdom. On Wednesday, last Wednesday, the College of Commissioners gave me a mandate to conclude the negotiation of the joint report, and it had to be concluded today, not next week. Today, because next week we'll have the European Council, and in order to allow our partners to prepare in the best way possible the meeting of the European Council, we had to make the deal today. On the basis of the mandate which was given to me by the European Council, the Commission has just formally decided to recommend to the European Council that sufficient progress has now been made on the strict terms of the divorce. Es wurden genügend Fortschritte erzielt, damit wir jetzt in die zweite Phase der Verhandlungen eintreten können. Nous avons pu faire les progrès suffisants pour que désormais nous puissions entrer en deuxième phase de la négociation entre le Royaume-Uni et l'Union européenne à 27. The decision on sufficient progress will be in the hands of the 27 heads of state or government. I'm hopeful, sure, confident, sure that they will share our appraisal and allow us to move on the next phase of the negotiations. Last Monday, I also met with the European Parliament representatives. From the start of this process, cooperation between the European Parliament and the Commission has been close and our position closely aligned. These negotiations can only be successful if we take an inclusive approach. That's exactly what we did. Without going into all the detail, allow me to touch on what today's agreements mean in practice. Later on today, after 9:30, my friend Michel Barnier will be available to explain all the details of the agreement we reached today. A few remarks on citizens' rights. First, in this negotiation, citizens have always come first. It has been a great importance for the Commission to make sure that EU citizens in the UK will be protected after the UK leaves the European Union. EU citizens have made important life choices on the assumption that the United Kingdom was a member of the European Union. Brexit created great uncertainty for those citizens and for their families. Today, we bring back the certainty. The Commission's negotiators have made sure that the choices made by the EU citizens living in the UK will be protected. We have made sure that their rights will remain the same after the UK has left the European Union. This is in particular the case for EU citizens' right to live, work and study, EU citizens' right to family reunification, the protection of the right of EU citizen children and the right to healthcare, pensions and other social security benefits. We have made sure that the administrative procedures will be cheap and will be simple. This is an issue for which the Commission will pay particular attention when drafting the withdrawal agreement. The same goes for UK citizens living in the EU 27. On the settling of accounts, the Prime Minister said in her remarkable Florence speech that the United Kingdom would honour its commitments, including beyond 2020. This was a detailed line-by-line process, but she has been as good as her word. She was negotiating in a gentleman manner, and I'm very grateful, Prime Minister, for that. On Ireland, the EU has consistently supported the goal of peace and reconciliation enshrined in the Good Friday Agreement. The European Union has made it a priority to protect the peace process on the island. I have been in regular contact with the Taoiseach over the last days, including last night and including last negotiations we had in the course of yesterday with our Irish friends. The UK has made significant commitments on the avoidance of a hard border after its withdrawal from the European Union. All of the EU 27 stand firmly behind Ireland and behind the peace process. Let me be clear, we still have a lot of work to do. The joint report is not the withdrawal agreement. That agreement still needs to be drafted by the negotiators on the basis we have agreed yesterday and today, and then approved by the Council and ratified by the UK Parliament and the European Parliament. 534 days ago, the British people voted to leave the European Union. 49 days ago, the United Kingdom notified its intention to leave the European Union. And in 477 days, the United Kingdom will do just that. I will always be sad about this development. But now we must start looking for the future, a future in which the United Kingdom will be and will remain a close friend and ally. The Prime Minister and I discussed the need for a transitional period, and we dedicated much of our meeting to our joint vision of a deep and close partnership. It is crucial for us all that we continue working closely together on issues such as trade, research, security and others. We will take things one step at a time, starting with next week's European Council. But today, I'm hopeful that we are now all moving towards the second phase of these challenging negotiations. And we can do this jointly on the basis of trust, renewed trust, determination, and with the perspective of a renewed friendship. Thank you. Prime Minister, please.
Thank you. Well, thank you, Jean-Claude. We've been working extremely hard this week, and as you've all seen, it hasn't been easy for either side. When we met on Monday, we said a deal was within reach. What we have arrived at today represents a significant improvement, and I'm grateful to the negotiating teams, led by David Davis and Michel Barnier, for their efforts. Getting to this point has required give and take on both sides, and I believe that the joint report being published is in the best interests of the whole of the UK. I very much welcome the prospect of moving ahead to the next phase, to talk about trade and security, and to discuss the positive and ambitious future relationship that is in all of our interests. I've consistently said that we want to build a deep and special partnership with the EU as we implement the decision of the British people to leave at the end of March 2019. Doing so will provide clarity and certainty for businesses in the UK and the EU, and crucially for all our citizens. The deal we've struck will guarantee the rights of more than 3 million EU citizens living in the UK and of 1 million UK citizens living in the EU. EU citizens living in the UK will have their rights enshrined in UK law and enforced by British courts. they will be able to go on living their lives as before. I was clear in Florence that we're a country that honours our obligations. After some tough conversations, we've now agreed a settlement that is fair to the British taxpayer. It means that in future we will be able to invest more in our priorities at home, such as housing, schools and the NHS. In Northern Ireland, we will guarantee there will be no hard border, and we will uphold the Belfast Agreement. And in doing so, we will continue to preserve the constitutional and economic integrity of the United Kingdom. We have taken time this week to strengthen and clarify this part of the agreement, following discussions with unionists in Northern Ireland and across the UK. The Taoiseach, Leo Varadkar, and I spoke yesterday, and we've both committed that there should be no barriers, either north-south or east-west, and I believe this agreement delivers that. To underline the importance of these principles, I'm writing today to the people of Northern Ireland to set out our approach. Millions of jobs depend on the future trading relationship we will determine, and I'm optimistic about the discussions ahead. But in the meantime, reaching this agreement now ensures that businesses will be able to make investment decisions based on an implementation period that offers welcome certainty. I will be seeing President Tusk shortly, and I look forward to the publication of his guidelines. I also look forward to next week's European Council meeting, where I hope and expect we will be able to get the endorsement of the 27 to what is a hard-won agreement in all our interests. Thank you.
We have time for some questions. Let me start with Jurek.
Jurek Kuszkiewicz from the newspaper Le Soir here in Brussels. Prime Minister, this was a difficult negotiation, like you just said, very challenging, like the President said, but it's just the beginning, the first stage, and it's just the beginning of a very long and complex negotiation, and it was already very difficult. Did ever the question come to your mind that maybe, after all, this whole Brexit affair is a very bad idea for any second? Thank you.
In 2016, the British people were given, in a referendum, the opportunity to choose whether to stay in the European Union or not. Parliament was united across all parties in Parliament. A significant majority agreed that that decision would be given to the British people. The British people voted, and they voted to leave the European Union. And I believe it's a matter of trust and integrity in politicians. I believe the people should be able to trust that their politicians will put into place what they have determined. And that's exactly what we're doing, and we will be leaving the European Union.
Then I have Adam from the BBC.
Hi, Adam Fleming from the BBC. Morning to both of you. What is the biggest compromise the other side has made to get you to this point today? And was it a champagne breakfast?
This was a question, actually, of coming together and working together for a report and agreements that were in the best interests of all sides. It's been finding the way through that enables us to deliver for citizens, to deliver on the financial settlement, and also, crucially, to deliver in relation to Northern Ireland that agreement on no hard border, but also respecting the constitutional and economic integrity of the United Kingdom. That's what we've been working to. That's what I believe this joint report sets out.
And Verena from the German news agency, DPA.
Morning. Mr. Prime Minister, the arrangement seems to mean a special status for Northern Ireland. How come your partner, the DUP, accepted that? And will it not mean that the rest of the UK will also remain in the single market?
No, it doesn't actually mean what you've suggested. We're very clear. If you look at the agreement, at the text of the joint report, it says that we will work to achieve the relationship, the trading relationship between the UK and the European Union that we want to see, that we believe will also be the good trading relationship for Northern Ireland. If that is not the case, then we will look for specific solutions to what are the unique circumstances of Northern Ireland. Everybody recognises that because Northern Ireland is the only part of the UK with a land border with a country that will be remaining within the European Union, that is a set of unique circumstances, and indeed there are already unique circumstances and specific solutions for Northern Ireland. There's a single electricity market across the island of Ireland, for example. But I'm confident that we can, in negotiating the future trade relationship, we can ensure that we both won't have a hard border in Northern Ireland, but that we will retain the economic integrity of the single market of the United Kingdom.
Mark, go ahead.
Good morning to you both. Mark Stone from Sky News. Prime Minister, could I ask you, in simple terms, what has changed between Monday's lunch and now, which allows you to say a deal's done now and you couldn't on Monday? And President Juncker, for you, if I may, specifically on the European Court of Justice, it was one of the big sticking points. The Prime Minister says now that EU citizens in the UK will be under UK law and UK courts. Is that correct? And are you happy with that?
Should I take it? No. So on the first point, as we both said when we stood here on Monday, there were a couple of issues that we still had to finalise as we went through the last few days. But as I said in the remarks that I've just made, we have one of the things you can see is a strengthening of the commitments in relation to Northern Ireland and the United Kingdom. I think that's important. I think that's helpful. So within the joint report, you will see the commitment both to no hard border between Ireland and the Northern Ireland, but also that we ensure that we retain that constitutional integrity and economic integrity of the United Kingdom.
For EU citizens, the European Court of Justice will still be competent. Michel Barnier will explain you later on in detail what this is about, because it would take too much time to explain this in detail.
This concludes our press conference. Thank you all.
Thank you.